Madame, I possess merely a single inquiry for you this afternoon, just one lone question. Following 2 decades prosecuting criminals, 4 years in the vice presidency, and a lifetime serving the public, can you identify one solitary choice you lament? Simply name one instance. Take all the moments you require. The Senate Judiciary Committee room is overflowing, with every major news outlet broadcasting the event in real time. Harris rests at the witness station, wearing a tailored suit and a practiced grin. Assuming this would be standard testimony regarding criminal justice modifications, she possesses absolutely no concept of what is approaching her. Vice President J.D. Vance sits opposite her, dressed in a modest dark suit without an ostentatious tie, sporting a Marine Corps pin on his lapel. A yellow legal pad lies before him, yet he has not glanced at it a single time. Because I wish to discuss certain regrets with you, Madam former Vice President, specifically regrets concerning your history. Decisions you finalized and lives you devastated, walking through them individually over the coming hours. He unlocks a thick binder that is meticulously arranged and tabbed. Let us commence with a law enforcement officer named Isaac Espinosa, and I wonder if that name triggers any memory. Harris's smile fails to reach her eyes any longer. Observe how she attempts to deflect, and listen as she tries to shift the focus toward her progressive bona fides rather than a deceased officer. Senator Vance, she starts, utilizing his previous title in a subtle display of dominance. That specific case concluded over 20 years ago, and I reached a principled determination grounded in my resistance to capital punishment. Corporal Vance, actually, his voice slices through the air, calm and exacting. I earned that specific rank within the Marine Corps, though we may remain with Mr. Vance if you favor that address. The chamber falls silent, and yes, let us discuss your principles. Your principles placed you in conflict with Senator Dianne Feinstein, with Senator Barbara Boxer, with the California Attorney General, and with the entire San Francisco Police Department. You stood against Officer Espinosa's widow and his young daughter, but at least you possessed your principles. He retrieves a document to read something aloud to her. This comes from California Attorney General Bill Lockyer during Officer Espinosa's memorial service, while his widow sat in the very first row. While their 9-year-old child grasped her mother's hand, Vance pauses to let the anticipation grow. Quote, "If you make charging determinations based on personal philosophy rather than facts, I shall remove the case from your jurisdiction." End quote. Another pause follows, stretching longer this time. He was speaking regarding you, ma'am, at a police officer's funeral, which illustrates how appalling your judgment was. Harris adjusts in her chair, that patronizing prosecutor tone emerging. Senator, or rather Mr. Vance, the death penalty is a nuanced issue. It is not nuanced, so allow me to simplify it. Vance's tone remains steady and patient, as if he is instructing a young child. Officer Isaac Espinosa was 29 years old on April 10, 2004, working plainclothes patrol in the Bayview district of San Francisco. He and his partner walked toward a man in standard procedure. Officer Espinosa exits the unmarked automobile and illuminates his flashlight. He waits, allowing the tension to mount. David Hill commences firing an AK-47 automatic rifle, discharging multiple rounds. 2 projectiles strike Officer Espinosa and kill him instantly, while 2 more strike his partner and nearly kill him as well. The chamber remains quiet, save for the faint hum of cameras. First-degree murder, assault on a peace officer with a lethal weapon, and utilization of an assault rifle during the commission of a felony. This was not manslaughter nor self-defense. This was an execution. A cop killer armed with an AK-47, and Vance looks up from his notes to stare directly at Harris. Consequently, you possessed a choice to pursue the death penalty for a cop killer wielding an assault weapon or to make a political declaration. Which option did you select? Harris leans forward, attempting to re-establish authority. The death penalty has been proven to yes or no. Vance interrupts her. Did you pursue the death penalty? Because studies show capital punishment does not. Yes or no. A lengthy silence follows, and the microphones capture her rapid, shallow breathing. No, I did not pursue the death penalty. Thank you. Vance makes a notation, slow and purposeful, allowing her to observe him writing it. Now, at Officer Espinosa's funeral, a remarkable event occurred. Senator Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat from your own party and state, stood and declared you were wrong. She stated you should pursue death. Do you recall that moment? I recall there was a divergence of opinion. She separated from you publicly at a police funeral, and Barbara Boxer did as well. Both were Democratic senators from your home state, both pro-choice, both typically against the death penalty, and both liberals. Both declared you went too far. So does that offer you any hesitation? Harris attempts that chuckle, that anxious laugh she employs when trapped, starting high before trailing off and dying in her throat. No one laughs alongside her, and the stillness afterward is far worse. Well, we cannot all agree on everything. The San Francisco Police Officers Association termed your judgment a betrayal. The police union, the individuals who risk their existence daily, stated you prioritized your political trajectory over their survival. Were they incorrect? Silence follows as she reaches for her water tumbler, her hand shaking just slightly. The microphones are sensitive, so you can hear the glass chattering against the surface as she lifts it and replaces it without sipping. The matter is more nuanced, she claims. Attorney General Bill Lockyer did not believe it was nuanced, as he threatened to seize the case from you. Do you realize how infrequent it is for a state attorney general to threaten removing a case from a district attorney, particularly at the victim's burial? Vance extracts another paper, offering to read what the San Francisco Chronicle published. On April 21, 2004, they wrote that Harris's refusal to pursue capital punishment created an unprecedented schism between the new district attorney and the city's law enforcement community. Police officers openly doubt whether she can be relied upon to pursue suitable justice for deceased officers. He looks up to emphasize the point. That was merely 3 months into your tenure, 3 months, and you had already forfeited the confidence of the police department. Harris locates her voice, stronger now, or attempting to appear so. I finalized a decision grounded in my deeply held beliefs. Your deeply held beliefs. Vance nods gradually. Very well. Let us tally the price of those beliefs. 1 deceased police officer, 1 mourning widow, and 1 daughter named Sophia, who was left without a father. 1 police department that lost confidence in their district attorney. 2 United States senators from your own party denouncing you publicly. 1 attorney general threatening to confiscate the case, and 1 cop killer who was allowed to survive. All of this occurred because of your convictions. He shuts that portion of his binder, and the noise is deafening in the hushed room. That is merely 1, and we have 9 additional scandals to review today. However, I want you to consider something 20 years later. Do you lament that choice? Do you think of Sophia Espinosa or Officer Espinosa's widow? Do you ever question if your progressive ideals were worth the suffering you inflicted upon that family? Harris sits upright in her seat and deploys that rehearsed tone of empathy she utilizes in addresses. I comprehend that law enforcement families struggle. Do you regret it? Yes or no? These determinations are never simple. Officer Espinosa's daughter is 30 years of age now, though she was 9 when your choice ensured her father's murderer would not face what many deemed proper justice. She is present today, in the third row of the center section. He does not point, as he does not need to. The cameras locate her, Sofia Espinosa, a professional woman in her early 30s. Tissues are in her grasp, tears flow down her cheeks, and she is silent, dignified, and grieving. Her name is Sofia, and would you care to inform Sofia that you finalized the correct choice? The Senate chamber is absolutely quiet, save for Sofia's soft weeping. Someone coughs and a chair squeaks, but that is all. Everyone else simply waits, watches, and listens. Harris opens her mouth, shuts it, and opens it once more. No words emerge. Only silence for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, then 15. You can hear the air conditioning droning, and someone's phone vibrates before being silenced rapidly. That is what I assumed, and Vance's voice is hushed now, more perilous because of its volume. Let us proceed. Somewhere in the Democratic portion of the room, a chair scrapes. Quiet and almost apologetic. A senator rises, collects his folder, and walks toward the exit, just a single individual for the moment. The door opens and clicks shut, and Harris heard it. You can discern her jaw clenching for just a brief second. That is one. Vance imitates. One scandal, one disastrous failure of judgment, and one family ruined by your principles. We are merely commencing, and here is where matters become truly intriguing. Because Harris adores speaking about racial equity, criminal justice reform, mass incarceration, and wrongful convictions. She has delivered speeches, penned editorials, and positioned herself as a progressive prosecutor who values Black lives. Let us examine that assertion. Madame former Vice President, do you recognize who Jamal Truelove is? That patronizing grin returns, feeble and strained. I managed thousands of cases as district attorney. He is the black male your office wrongfully convicted of homicide. The innocent man who forfeited 6 years in prison for a felony he did not perpetrate. The man who was stabbed while serving a sentence for your error. Does that trigger any memories now? The smile vanishes. Now I understand what you are contemplating, Vance continues. You did not personally try every case. You possessed assistants, a large office, and numerous cases. You cannot be liable for everything. And you know what? You are partially correct. However, here is the reality regarding being in command. The failures belong to you as well, particularly when those failures involve your office concealing proof and offering false testimony. He extracts a new section from his binder. Jamal Truelove, convicted of murder in 2007 under your supervision. Your office, your obligation. He spent 6 years in San Quentin State Prison. 6 years of his existence gone, stolen for a murder he did not commit. Vance looks up, his eyes locking onto Harris. Do you know how we know he did not do it? Because in 2015, his conviction was overturned. Prosecutorial misconduct occurred. Your office withheld exculpatory evidence. Your office presented testimony they knew was untrustworthy, and your office destroyed an innocent man's life. I was not personally involved in, Harris begins. Let me read you what Jamal Truelove himself stated. This comes from an interview he granted after his release, after he sued the city, and after he prevailed. Vance withdraws a transcript. Quote, I will never forget when I turned around and looked, and I saw Kamala Harris. We locked eyes this one time, and she laughed. She literally just kind of burst out laughing. He looks up from the page and lets that absorb. You laughed at him in court, an innocent black man facing life imprisonment because of your office's misconduct. And you laughed. That is a falsehood. Harris's voice rises, sharp and defensive. I would never, she insists. He stated it under oath in his deposition under penalty of perjury. Would you care to sue him for defamation? Silence follows. The jury believed him, by the way, finding in his favor for wrongful imprisonment, civil rights violations, and malicious prosecution. The city of San Francisco paid him $13.1 million. $13.1 million, which is how badly your office failed. Vance pauses to let that figure breathe. $13 million. That is taxpayer money. San Francisco taxpayers paying for your office's misconduct because you, the progressive prosecutor, placed an innocent black man in prison. Harris attempts to regroup, stating the criminal justice system is flawed and we have worked to reform. Stop, Vance holds up his hand. Just stop. That is not an answer. That is a talking point. Jamal Truelove is not a statistic. He is not a policy debate. He is a real person, a man whose life you ruined. I accept full responsibility for, she says. Do you? Because you just spent the last 5 minutes attempting to evade responsibility. You were not personally involved. You had a large office. The system is flawed. Those are not apologies. Those are excuses. Vance leans forward, his voice becoming quieter and more intense. Here is what truly bothers me about this. While Jamal Truelove sat in San Quentin for a crime he did not commit, while he was being stabbed by other inmates, while he was losing 6 years of his life, you were constructing your political career. You were running for Attorney General, giving speeches about reform, about justice, about how much you care about communities of color. He pauses to let it land. You wrote a book called Smart on Crime, and we will get to that plagiarized mess later. But in that book, you spoke about wrongful convictions, about the need for prosecutorial accountability. While one of your victims was still in prison, still suffering, still paying for your office's crimes, Harris's jaw clenches, and you can hear her teeth grind slightly. The microphones capture it. Tell me, Madame former Vice President, how does that fit with your progressive prosecutor image? The one you campaign on, the one you write editorials about, the one you built your entire political brand upon. The criminal justice system, she starts, is imperfect. You said that already, but you were not a victim of the system. You were the system. You were the district attorney. You possessed the power, and you utilized that power to destroy an innocent man's life while laughing about it in court. In the gallery, several black pastors who had come to support Harris shift uncomfortably in their seats. One slowly removes his Justice for All button, drops it in his coat pocket, and looks down at his hands. Another stands quietly and walks toward the exit. Then another follows, then 3 more, a small exodus. It is not loud or dramatic, just leaving. Chairs scraping softly against the floor, footsteps, the door opening and closing over and over. Harris hears everyone. You can see it. No, you can hear it. Her breathing changes, getting faster and shallower. Jamal Truelove has endorsed President Trump. By the way, Vance says, almost conversational, like he is discussing the weather. A black man from San Francisco, one of the most liberal cities in America, is voting Republican. He is supporting Donald Trump because of you, because of what you did to him. He closes that section of his folder. That makes 2. A dead cop's daughter still grieving 20 years later, and an innocent man who spent 6 years in prison for your mistakes. 2 lives destroyed, 2 families devastated, 2 catastrophic failures. We are not even halfway finished. Silence. Complete silence. You can hear someone's stomach growling, the soft whir of the air conditioning, and breathing. That is all. Harris reaches for her water again, drinks this time, and almost empties the glass. Her hand is shaking visibly now, the water sloshing slightly. Let us jump forward from your incompetence as a prosecutor to your incompetence as a presidential candidate. Because apparently you did not learn from San Francisco, you just made larger mistakes on a national stage. Vance extracts a new section, fresh documents, and this one is thicker. 2024, your campaign for president. You required a running mate, someone to balance the ticket, someone competent, someone without major scandals hanging over their head. He pauses, letting the anticipation build. You selected Tim Walz. Laughter ripples through the Republican side of the chamber, and a few Democrats cannot suppress smiles either. The awkward kind, the, "Oh God, why did she pick him" kind. Now I know what happened. You lost badly, historically badly. But that is not the scandal we are discussing today. The scandal is how you selected him, or more accurately, how you failed to properly vet him before placing him one heartbeat away from the presidency. Harris straightens, tries to look confident, but fails. Every campaign makes decisions based on available information. Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, seemed like a safe choice on paper. Teacher, veteran, Midwestern, folksy. The problem is, by the time you selected him, Minnesota was already drowning in one of the largest fraud scandals in American history. Vance holds up a document. The Feeding Our Future scandal. $9 billion. Billion with a B. $9,000 million in fraud. Stolen right under Governor Walz's nose, on his watch, in his state. He sets the document down and looks at Harris. Did you know about this scandal when you picked Governor Walz? She shifts. Every state has issues with. Did you know, yes or no? The vetting process is confidential. That is not what I asked. The fraud scandal was public. Major news outlets had covered it, the FBI had made arrests, and federal indictments had been filed. This was not some secret investigation. It was front-page news in Minnesota. Did your vetting team tell you about the $9 billion fraud happening in his state? Long pause. Harris's lawyer, sitting behind her, leans in and whispers something. She pulls back. I am not at liberty to discuss the internal vetting. So yes, you knew. You knew, and you picked him anyway. Vance extracts another document, a timeline. Let me paint you the picture. A nonprofit organization called Feeding Our Future was supposed to feed needy children during the pandemic. A noble cause? Except they were not feeding children. They were stealing. Massive fraud, shell companies, fake meal sites, false claims, kickbacks, money laundering. He reads from the timeline. The FBI opened its investigation in January 2021. 3 years before you picked Walz. 3 full years. The first indictments came down in September 2022, still almost 2 years before you announced him as your running mate. By August 2024, when you picked him, 70 people had been charged with stealing $250 million. And prosecutors were saying the total fraud could reach $9 billion. Vance looks up. $9 billion. Let me put that in perspective. That is more than the annual budget of some states. That is enough money to run the entire Minnesota state government for almost 2 months. And it was stolen on Walz's watch, while he was governor, while he was supposed to be providing oversight. Harris tries to interrupt. The governor's office does not directly oversee every program. I know, but here is what kills me about this. Vance's voice gets softer, more dangerous. You are supposed to be a prosecutor, trained to evaluate evidence, trained to assess credibility, trained to ask tough questions. And you picked a governor whose state was hemorrhaging billions in fraud, whose oversight was so incompetent that criminals stole from children, from hungry children during a pandemic. He pauses to let it sink in. Your vetting team had to ask what this says about his executive ability, his attention to detail, his judgment, his competence. And apparently your answer was good enough. Let us make him vice president. The vetting process involved multiple teams and extensive reviews. It failed. The word you are looking for is failed. Your vetting failed spectacularly. Because guess what happened 3 months ago? Governor Walz dropped his re-election bid. Do you know why? Silence. The fraud scandal, the one that was already public when you picked him, the one your vetting team supposedly knew about. It finally caught up with him. It got so bad that he could not run for re-election. Your running mate, the man you vouched for, the man you put on the national ticket. He had to drop out because of corruption he failed to stop. Vance reads from another document. Retired Minnesota State Patrol Lieutenant John Nagel, who is running for Congress now, said this, quote, "The vetting clearly failed. By the time Governor Walz was selected, Minnesota's fraud scandals were already public, already under federal investigation, and already raising serious questions about oversight. That was not hidden information. It was an open and growing issue." He looks up. It was not hidden. It was open, public, documented. And you either did not know, which makes you incompetent, or you did know and picked him anyway, which makes you reckless. Which is it? Harris's hands gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white. You can hear her breathing fast, shallow, almost hyperventilating. The campaign made the best decision based on terrible judgment. Just say it. Your judgment was terrible. As a prosecutor, you laughed at innocent men and refused justice for murdered cops. As a presidential candidate, you picked a running mate presiding over $9 billion in fraud. Your judgment has been consistently, catastrophically terrible. 3 more Democrats stand. Don't even try to hide it this time. Just stand up. Gather their things, briefcases snapping shut, click, 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 and walk out. No apologies, no excuses, just gone. The cameras pan to follow them. The exodus is growing. Harris sees it. Everyone sees it. The rats leaving the sinking ship. That is 3 scandals. 3 massive failures of judgment. A murdered cop denied justice. An innocent man in prison. $9 billion in fraud ignored. And we are not even halfway done. Harris's voice comes out thin, strained. This is a partisan witch hunt. No, ma'am. Vance's voice is flat, final. A witch hunt is what you participated in against President Trump for 4 years. This is accountability. This is documentation. This is truth. And we are just getting warmed up. You know what is remarkable about modern American politics? Vance pulls out yet another section. This one has screenshots, printouts, side-by-side comparisons, how desperately the media tries to protect certain candidates, how they will edit answers, cover mistakes, make incompetent people look coherent. And sometimes they get caught. He slides a document across the table toward Harris. October 6th, 2024. Face the Nation posts a preview clip of your 60 Minutes interview. You are asked about Israel, about Prime Minister Netanyahu. Simple foreign policy question. Standard stuff for a presidential candidate. And you give this answer. Vance reads from the transcript, monotone, deliberately flat. Let the words speak for themselves. Quote, "Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region." End quote. He looks up. That is not English. That is word salad. That is someone who has absolutely no idea what they are talking about, trying to sound informed. That is you being exposed as completely unprepared for the presidency. Harris starts to speak. Vance holds up his hand. But wait, here is where it gets interesting. When 60 Minutes aired the full interview that evening, your answer was completely different. Completely different. CBS edited in a response from a different part of the interview. Made you sound coherent. Made you sound like you actually had an answer. He pulls out another document, a statement from CBS. President Trump called it the biggest scandal in election history. Now I think that is hyperbole. Trump loves hyperbole, but it is still pretty significant. Because what CBS did was admit that your actual answer was so incomprehensible, so embarrassing, so disqualifying, that they had to protect you by editing in something else. I don't control editorial decisions, Harris tries. Did you know they were going to edit your answer? Did you ask them to? Did your campaign ask them to make you sound more coherent? I would never. Because either you asked, which makes you complicit in deceiving the American people, or they did it without asking, which means they were so worried about how bad you looked that they took it upon themselves to cover for you. Which is it? Silence. Harris looks down at her hands clasped tight on the table. Campaign spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt said it best. Vance reads from his notes. Quote, "They edited in a different response from another part of her answer to make Kamala Harris sound less incoherent than she really was. This is not a denial. This is an admission that they did exactly what they were accused of." He sets the paper down. CBS admitted it, released a statement, not denying, not apologizing, just admitting that, yeah, they edited your answer because the real one was too embarrassing to air. But wait, we are not done, because that was not your only media disaster. The View, September 24th, 2024. Different interview, different catastrophic answer. Sunny Hostin asks you a simple question. Such a simple question. Vance pauses, builds the anticipation. She asks, would you have done anything differently than President Biden? And you say, he reads from the transcript, slow, emphasizing each word. There is not a thing that comes to mind. The room erupts. Even some Democrats groan audibly. Heads shaking, muttering. The kind of reaction you can't control. Not a thing. You could not name one thing you would do differently than the most unpopular president in modern history. The president whose approval rating was so low that Democrats begged him to drop out. The president who could not win. And you said you would do everything exactly the same. Vance leans back, almost relaxed, like he is enjoying this. Let me read you something from your own memoir. 107. Days, your book about the campaign. You wrote, and this is your own admission, you wrote that you, quote, pulled the pin on a hand grenade with that answer. Your staff were, quote, beside themselves. Even you knew you had destroyed your campaign with one sentence. He closes the book, sets it on the table. So here is my question. If you could not name one thing you would do differently, why should Americans have elected you? If Biden was so unpopular he had to drop out, and you would do everything the same as him, what were you offering? What was your pitch? Vote for me. I will be exactly like the guy everyone hates. Harris tries that laugh again. That nervous laugh, more forced this time, higher pitched, desperate. It dies in her throat. Nobody joins her. The silence after is brutal. You can laugh all you want, but you lost. You lost badly. And these interviews are why. Because they showed the truth. You were not ready. You could not handle basic questions. You could not differentiate yourself. You could not articulate a vision. And the only way you looked remotely competent was when media organizations edited your answers to protect you. 5 more Democrats stand, not even trying to be discreet now. Just done, gathering their things. One drops his folder. Papers scatter. He does not even pick them up, just leaves them. Walks out. The door opens and closes, opens and closes. The sound echoing in the chamber. One senator stays behind. Sanders, Bernie Sanders, independent. Takes off his glasses, rubs his face, looks old, tired, disgusted. Shakes his head slowly. Harris sees it all, hears it all. Her breathing is audible now, ragged, fast. That is his 4 scandals. 4 catastrophic failures. Murdered cop, innocent man, $9 billion in fraud, and now media manipulation, because you are too incompetent to answer simple questions without help. Vance gathers his papers for the next section. I promise you, the next ones are worse. Let us talk about your book, Smart on Crime, written in 2009 when you were San Francisco's district attorney. Published by Chronicle Books, supposed to showcase your expertise, your innovative ideas, your prosecutorial philosophy. Vance holds up a copy, worn, tabbed, annotated. Except you did not write it. Not really. Not honestly. He sets the book down, opens to a marked page. Madame former Vice President, do you know what plagiarism is? That condescending smile tries to return, barely makes it. Of course I know what plagiarism. Because a lot of people seem confused. They think plagiarism is just copying without quotes. But it is more than that. It is intellectual theft. Taking someone else's work and presenting it as your own. Claiming credit for ideas that are not yours. Claiming expertise you did not earn. Vance slides a document across the table. This is Dr. Jonathan Bailey's analysis of your book. Dr. Bailey is one of the world's leading experts in plagiarism detection. He analyzed 5 passages that Christopher Rufo initially identified. Then he examined additional passages. His conclusion: pause, let it build. Plagiarism. Clear, unambiguous, documented plagiarism. My book was thoroughly researched, and Harris starts. The most serious allegation involves Wikipedia. Your book, this professional published work that you used to build your credibility, contained approximately 2 paragraphs copied directly from Wikipedia. Verbatim, without citation, without quotes. Just straight copied and pasted. He pulls out another document, 2 pages side by side. Now I can already hear your defense. You did not copy from Wikipedia. You copied from the U.S. Bureau of Justice Assistance. Wikipedia just happened to have the same text. Coincidence? Vance looks up, small smile, not friendly. Problem is, your book also copied Wikipedia's error. A factual error that appeared in Wikipedia, but not in the original Bureau of Justice document. So either you copied from Wikipedia and got their error, or you copied from the Bureau and independently made the exact same error at the exact same place. Which is it? Silence. But that is not all. Multiple other passages, situations where text was used verbatim but not quoted. Sources cited but not properly attributed. This was not one mistake. This was a pattern of intellectual dishonesty running through your published work. Harris's lawyer interrupts. My client did not personally write every word. Oh, so now it is the ghostwriter's fault. Vance does not even look at the lawyer, eyes locked on Harris. Let me read you what Dr. Bailey said about that defense. Quote, primary authors are still responsible for contributions by co-authors and ghostwriters. The primary author's name is still at the top of the book. He taps the book cover. Her name, large, prominent. Your name, your face on the back. Your reputation built on this book's success. But you did not even write it honestly. You plagiarized, or you allowed your ghostwriter to plagiarize. Either way, it is fraud. In academic writing, there are conventions, Harris tries. This is not academic writing. This is professional work. Published, sold, as to establish your credibility as an expert. Used in your campaign for Attorney General. Used in your Senate campaign. Used in your presidential campaigns. And it is plagiarized. Vance pulls out yet another analysis. Here is what really gets me. You called this book Smart on Crime. The title itself is ironic, because what is smart about copying from Wikipedia? What is smart about not catching your own plagiarism before publication? What is smart about putting your name on work you did not do? He pauses, looks at Harris. Tell me something. When law students at Yale get caught plagiarizing, what happens to them? Harris does not answer. They get expelled, failed. Their legal career is over before they start. Academic integrity violations. But you plagiarized a published book, used it to build your career, became Attorney General, Senator, Vice President, presidential candidate. No consequences. None. I take responsibility, she starts. No, you do not. You are sitting here making excuses, blaming ghostwriters, blaming academic conventions, blaming everyone except yourself. You are doing everything except actually taking responsibility. In the gallery, a Yale Law School professor stands. Distinguished older woman, former classmate of Harris. Gathers her things, walks out disgusted, head shaking. Behind her, young law students whisper, shocked their hero is a fraud. 5 scandals now. Vance counts them on his fingers. Dead cop's daughter denied justice. Innocent man in prison. $9 billion in fraud ignored. Media editing your answers to hide incompetence. Plagiarized book building false credibility. Seeing a pattern? Harris reaches for her water glass, empty. She forgot she drank it already. Her hand shakes as she sets the empty glass down. The sound is loud, hollow. The pattern is incompetence covered up by institutions, protected by media, hidden by allies. But eventually, truth comes out. Evidence accumulates. And here we are. We are almost done. I know this has been difficult. Truth usually is. But we have 3 more items to cover. 3 more examples of your catastrophic failures. And these 3 tie everything together. They show that your failures are not accidents. They are choices. Bad choices. Dangerous choices. Vance pulls out the final section of his folder, thickest one yet. Let us talk about police. You wrote in Smart on Crime, the book you plagiarized, that having more police on the streets helps public safety. Page 47. Quote, more police equals more safety. This is not controversial, it is common sense. End quote. He pulls out another document. Fast forward to June 2020, George Stephanopoulos interview. He asks you about police funding. Your answer, and I am quoting you directly. Quote, The idea that the best way to achieve more safety is to put more police on the streets is just wrong." End quote. Vance looks up, lets that contradiction hang in the air. Just wrong. Exact opposite of what you wrote 11 years earlier. So, which is it, ma'am? Were you lying in your book, or were you lying to George Stephanopoulos? Because it cannot be both true. Harris shifts. The context of policing evolved. The context did not evolve. Your political calculations did. In 2009, being tough on crime helped your career. You were San Francisco DA, needed police union support. So you wrote that more police equals more safety. He pauses. But in 2020, after George Floyd, after the riots, after defund the police became a rallying cry on the left, you changed your tune completely. Not because the evidence changed, because the politics changed. Vance pulls out another document. During the summer riots of 2020, you promoted the Minnesota Freedom Fund, encouraged people to donate, helped bail out arrested protesters, tweeted about it, posted on social media. Sounds noble, right? Help people exercising their First Amendment rights. He looks up. Except the Minnesota Freedom Fund did not just bail out peaceful protesters, they bailed out violent criminals, people arrested for assault, domestic abuse. One man they bailed out went on to commit murder. Murder while out on bail, funded by an organization you promoted. Harris tries to interrupt. Vance does not let her. You applauded Los Angeles cutting $150 million from their police budget. $150 million. You said we need to reimagine public safety without police. And what happened? He does not wait for an answer. Crime skyrocketed. Murder rates jumped. Carjackings, smash and grab robberies, retail theft. Cities became war zones. Police officers retired in record numbers. Morale collapsed. Response times increased. And Americans died. They died because cities followed the advice of people like you. Law enforcement experts have shown. Harris starts. Law enforcement experts. You mean the police unions you betrayed? The cops whose trust you lost in San Francisco? Those experts. Vance leans forward. Then there is the border. Oh, the border. President Biden appointed you border czar in March 2021. Your job: stop illegal immigration, secure the border, protect American communities from cartels, trafficking, and fentanyl. He pauses. Let them anticipate. You failed completely. Catastrophically. Historically. Outcome: more documents, charts, numbers, data. Illegal crossings hit record highs. Fiscal year 21. Over 2 million encounters. 2 million. Fiscal year 22. Over 2.3 million. 23. Over 3 million. 3 million people. He lets those numbers sink in. Fentanyl deaths exploded. Over 100,000 Americans dead. 100,000 from a drug flowing across the border you were supposed to secure. Terrorist watch list suspects apprehended crossing illegally increased. Criminal cartel hotels made billions. Human trafficking surged. Children were exploited. And you. Vance's voice drops, gets colder. You did not even visit the border for over 90 days after your appointment. 90 days. Border cities overwhelmed. Agents overworked. Communities in crisis. And the border czar could not be bothered to actually go to the border for 3 months. There were logistical considerations, Harris tries. It is a 4-hour flight from Washington to El Paso. What logistics take 90 days? The root causes approach requires root causes. Vance almost laughs, but there is no humor in it. You wanted to fix Guatemala and Honduras while Americans were dying from fentanyl, while border towns were overwhelmed, while children were being trafficked out, while cartels made billions. You focused on root causes while the house burned down. He pulls out one final document. And let us not forget California. Your time as Attorney General. You forced non-profits to disclose their donor lists, complete donor lists. IRS Form 990, Schedule B. Every person who donated over $5,000. Their names, their addresses, everything. The Supreme Court ruled against California. AFP versus Bonta said you violated the First Amendment. But here is what is important. You did not just make a legal mistake. You targeted conservative groups, Tea Party organizations, religious nonprofits, pro-life groups, anyone who opposed your politics. Vance closes his folder. All of it, every section done. So, let us review. You wrote that more police create safety, then said the opposite when it became politically convenient. You supported defunding police while cities burned. You were appointed border czar and presided over the worst border crisis in American history. Fentanyl deaths exploded, illegal crossings tripled, and you weaponized your office as Attorney General to target political opponents. He counts on his fingers. 6 scandals. 6 catastrophic failures. Murdered cop denied justice. Innocent man in prison. $9 billion in fraud ignored. Media manipulation. Plagiarism. And complete policy incoherence on police, borders, and civil rights. Vance stands, gathers his papers slowly, deliberately. Here is what I do not understand. You had every advantage. Wealthy family in California. Elite education. Powerful positions. Media protection. Institutional support. And yet everywhere you went, you left destruction. Police officers who could not trust you. Innocent men in prison. Murder victims denied justice. Presidential campaign in ruins. Cities overrun by crime and illegal immigration. Americans dead from fentanyl. Communities devastated. He looks at Harris, really looks at her. And through it all, you never took responsibility, never admitted mistakes, never showed real remorse. Just excuses, deflections, talking points, identity politics, blame shifting. The room is dead silent. You can hear the air conditioning, the hum of cameras, someone's breathing. That is it. Do you know why Americans rejected you? It is not racism. It is not sexism. It is not because you are a woman. It is not because of your background. It is because they saw who you really are. An incompetent prosecutor who failed upward, a politician protected by institutions but destroying everything she touched. Someone who never earned her success, who never deserved the positions she held, who never should have been anywhere near the presidency. Harris sits silent. No defense left. No talking points remaining. No deflections available. Just empty. We are done here. Vance addresses the chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move that these findings be referred to the Department of Justice for investigation. Potential charges include prosecutorial misconduct, civil rights violations under color of law, and abuse of government authority. Harris's lawyer jumps up. This is a partisan witch hunt, these allegations are. The facts speak for themselves, counselor. Vance cuts him off. Cold. Final. And the facts are damning. 6 scandals. All documented, all proven, all her. He picks up his folder. Yellow legal pad, Marine Corps pen. One more thing. He looks at Harris one final time. You wanted to be president. You thought you deserved it. You thought your identity, your credentials, your connections entitled you to it. But you did not earn it. You failed at every level, and the American people saw it. That is why you lost. Not because of bias, not because of discrimination, because of truth, because of your record, because of who you were and what you have done. He walks toward the exit, back straight, Marine Corps bearing, confident, calm. Behind him, Kamala Harris sits slumped in her chair, shoulders hunched, head down, career in ruins, legacy destroyed. No more excuses, no more deflections, no more media protection, just truth. Finally, after all these years, the committee room erupts, shouting questions, chaos, but Vance does not look back. Just keeps walking through the doors into the hallway. Gone, leaving behind the wreckage of Kamala Harris's political career. Within 30 minutes, the political earthquake begins. CNN breaks into regular programming. Wolf Blitzer on screen, looking shaken. We have just witnessed what may be one of the most devastating political testimonies in modern American history. MSNBC is in full meltdown. Rachel Maddow trying to spin, failing. The evidence is too overwhelming. The video too clear. Harris's collapse too complete. Fox News goes wall to wall. Every show, every segment. Clips of Harris stammering, deflecting. The Democrats walking out. The empty water glass shaking in her trembling hand. Social media explodes. Hashtag Harris destroyed trends worldwide. 50 million mentions in the first hour. The video of her sitting silent, unable to answer Vance's final question about regrets, goes viral. 100 million views in 3 hours. By sunset, the Democratic National Committee chair releases a statement. The testimony raised serious questions that demand answers and accountability. The Democratic Party stands for truth and justice. Translation: you are on your own. Nancy Pelosi, retired but still influential, posts on social media. After careful reflection on today's testimony, I believe it is time for a full and transparent investigation into these allegations. Even Pelosi is cutting her loose. California Governor Gavin Newsom announces a state investigation. We must ensure that all public officials, regardless of party or position, are held to the highest standards of conduct. California, her home state, investigating her. The media tries damage control. Politico runs a piece. Context missing from Vance's attacks. But the comments section destroys it. What context makes laughing at an innocent man okay? What context justifies $9 billion in fraud? The article gets ratioed into oblivion. By midnight, 3 major donors publicly demand refunds of their contributions to her failed presidential campaign. We were misled about her record and character. Her memoir publisher announces they are pulling The Truths We Hold from shelves pending fact-checking review of all claims. The book vanishes from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, gone. But the real story, the story that matters, happens outside the Senate building. Sofia Espinosa takes the microphone. Reporters crowd around, cameras everywhere. She has been waiting for this moment for 20 years. 20 years. Her voice is steady, strong. 20 years I have waited for someone in power to acknowledge what she did to my family. To say my father's life mattered more than her political career. Tears stream down her face, but she does not stop, does not break. I was 9 years old when David Hill murdered my father with an AK-47. 9! And Kamala Harris, the district attorney, who was supposed to seek justice, chose her progressive principles over my father's life, over my family's pain, over basic justice. She wipes her eyes, continues. For 2 decades, she built her career on being a reformer, a progressive prosecutor, someone who cares. But she never cared about us. She never called, never apologized, never acknowledged that maybe, just maybe, refusing to seek appropriate justice for a cop killer was wrong. Sophia looks directly into the camera. Today, Vice President Vance gave me something I never thought I would have. Validation, acknowledgement. Someone in authority finally saying my father deserved better. That the man who killed him deserved appropriate punishment. That Kamala Harris was wrong. Her voice cracks, but she pushes through. Dad was 29. I am 30 now. I have lived longer than he did. And every day of those 20 years I have carried the weight of knowing that his killer is alive because Kamala Harris chose politics over justice. She pauses, composes herself. Thank you, Vice President Vance. Thank you for seeing us, for remembering that victims matter, for finally holding her accountable. The press conference goes viral. 50 million views in 6 hours, shared by conservatives and progressives alike. Because this is not politics. This is human pain, real suffering. A daughter who lost her father and never got justice. 2 days later, Jamal Truelove releases a video statement standing outside San Quentin, the prison where he spent 6 years for a crime he did not commit. People ask me why I support President Trump, why I broke with Democrats, why I walked away from the party my family supported for generations. He points at the prison behind him. Today's hearing showed why. Because Republicans like J.D. Vance actually care about injustice. They do not just talk about criminal justice reform. They expose the prosecutors who destroyed lives. They hold people accountable, even when those people are powerful, even when those people hide behind progressive credentials. He turns back to the camera. I was stabbed in there, right inside those walls, while serving time for Kamala Harris's mistake, for her office's misconduct, for her incompetence. I lost 6 years of my life. 6 years I will never get back. His voice gets harder, angrier. She laughed at me in court, looked me in the eye and laughed, while I was facing life in prison for something I did not do. And then she went on to build a career talking about how much she cares about people who look like me. Truelove shakes his head. To every person wrongfully convicted, every victim of prosecutorial misconduct, every family destroyed by corrupt prosecutors, today was for you. Today showed that even powerful people can be held responsible. Even people protected by media and institutions can be exposed. The video gets 20 million views, shared across platforms. His endorsement of Trump, previously mocked by progressives, suddenly makes sense. San Francisco Police Officers Association releases a statement. For 20 years, we have known the truth about Kamala Harris. We have known she chose politics over justice, that she valued her progressive credentials over our lives, that she could not be trusted to seek appropriate justice for murdered officers. Today, America learned what we already knew. Officer Isaac Espinosa's sacrifice deserved better. His widow deserved better. His daughter Sophia deserved better. And today, Vice President Vance gave them something Kamala Harris never did. Recognition, acknowledgement, truth. We announced the creation of the Isaac Espinosa Memorial Award for Prosecutorial Integrity, to be given annually to prosecutors who put justice over politics, who seek appropriate punishment for cop killers, who remember that victims matter more than careers. Kamala Harris's name will never be associated with this award, ever. 1 week after the hearing, the Department of Justice announces formal investigations. Civil Rights Division looking into Harris's time as San Francisco District Attorney and California Attorney General. Focus areas: prosecutorial misconduct in the True Love case, potential civil rights violations, First Amendment violations regarding nonprofit donor privacy, abuse of government authority. The FBI opens a preliminary inquiry into the Walz vetting process. Questions about who knew what and when regarding the Minnesota fraud scandals. California Bar Association begins ethics review. Possible violations of attorney conduct rules and professional responsibility. The progressive prosecutor movement takes a massive hit. District attorneys across the country who followed Harris's soft-on-crime playbook suddenly face recall efforts. San Francisco voters launch a petition to recall the current district attorney. No more Kamala Harris-style prosecutors. No more politics over justice. No more excuses. Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Chicago, Boston. Recall petitions everywhere. The Harris model is dead. Universities quietly update their websites. Harvard Law School removes Harris from their distinguished alumni page. No announcement, no explanation, just gone. Yale Law does the same. The law school that educated her scrubs her from their Hall of Fame. Her name disappears from the list of notable graduates. Sorority that she belonged to at Howard University releases a statement distancing themselves. The values of our organization do not align with the conduct described in this week's testimony. Even her college sorority is cutting her loose. Progressive organizations that championed her scrambled to delete old tweets, remove endorsements from websites, scrub her from promotional materials. Emily's List, which supported her campaigns, removes all references. Planned Parenthood quietly deletes their praise of her. ACLU takes down their endorsements. Everyone running, everyone hiding, everyone pretending they never supported her. 2 weeks after the hearing, Kamala Harris releases a statement through her lawyer. Not a video, not a press conference, just text posted on social media. After careful consideration and consultation with my family, I am stepping back from public life to reflect and spend time with loved ones. I am grateful for the opportunity to serve and wish everyone well. That is it. No acceptance of responsibility. No apology to Sophia Espinosa or Jamal Truelove. No acknowledgement of the families harmed. Just goodbye. The media tries to give her a graceful exit. Harris steps back after difficult testimony, former VP to focus on family. But the comment sections tell the truth. She is running. No accountability. Coward. Her political career is over. Not because of one hearing, but because that hearing exposed 2 decades of failures, of incompetence, of lives destroyed, of justice denied. And once exposed, there was no coming back. 3 months later, J.D. Vance visits Marine Corps Base Quantico. Young Marines gather, want to hear about the hearing, about Harris, about truth and accountability. A young corporal raises his hand. "Sir, did you feel bad destroying her career like that?" Vance considers the question, thinks for a moment. "I did not destroy her career, Corporal. She did. Over 20 years, one bad decision after another. I just exposed what she had done." There is a difference. He looks at the assembled Marines. The Marine Corps taught me something important. Truth matters. Accountability matters. You do not cover for failure. You confront it. You fix it, or you remove people who will not fix themselves. He pauses. Officer Espinosa was protecting people, serving his community, and he was executed with an AK-47. His daughter Sophia deserved justice. She deserved someone seeking appropriate punishment for her father's killer. Kamala Harris denied her that for politics, for career, for progressive credentials. Vance's voice gets quieter. Jamal Truelove was innocent, completely innocent, and he spent 6 years in San Quentin because Harris's office hid evidence. He was stabbed in prison while serving time for her mistake. That is a real person, a real life, real suffering. He looks around at the young faces. Those are not statistics. Those are not talking points. Those are human beings whose lives were destroyed by someone who failed at every level, but kept getting promoted, kept getting protected, kept failing upward. A female Marine speaks up. Do you think things will change now? Vance smiles, small, genuine. I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. Truth has a way of breaking through eventually. It takes time. It takes courage. It takes people willing to document, to expose, to hold accountable. He straightens. Kamala Harris built a career on image, on credentials, on identity, but underneath incompetence, failures, destroyed lives. And for 20 years, institutions protected her. Media covered for her. Until finally, the truth came out. One more Marine, older staff sergeant. What is next, sir? Vance looks thoughtful. For me, keep serving, keep working. There is a lot of corruption to expose, a lot of failed politicians who need accountability. Kamala Harris was not the first, will not be the last. He grins. But she is done. That much I can promise you. The Marines applaud. Not because they hate Harris, but because they love truth. Justice, accountability, semper fidelis. Stories like this matter. Accountability matters. For 20 years, Kamala Harris failed upward, destroyed lives, denied justice. Protected by institutions and media until one Marine veteran with a folder full of evidence systematically exposed every failure. If this story gave you even a fraction of the satisfaction it gave Officer Espinosa's daughter Sophia, or Jamal Truelove, or the San Francisco police officers who never trusted her, hit that like button and share this. Let people know what really happened. Let them see how truth eventually wins, how accountability eventually comes even for the powerful, even for the protected. Drop a comment. What other politicians need the J.D. Vance treatment? Because there are plenty more where Harris came from. Plenty more corrupt prosecutors, failed leaders, incompetent politicians, protected by media and institutions. Subscribe if you want to see more. More investigations, more exposés, more truth, more justice. Because this is not over. The swamp is deep, the corruption is real, and the American people deserve accountability.